I turn the key and start the ride. My system's ready, amplified. What started small is growing fast, making waves that's gonna last. Big Sound Podcast. When I hit play, the streets know my name. Big Sound Podcast, that's my claim to fame. Every block I pass they recognize. My speakers teaching, that's no lies. Got knowledge flowing through the air. Quality sound beyond compare. They stop and ask me what I know about the watts and how to flow. Big Sound.
Hey, yo, it's Tuesday night, so yeah, you know what that means. Big Jeff and his team back on the scene. It's 2025, let's start the show. Taylor and Ben, they all ready to go. Big Jeff got the gear that you want indeed. Got sub speakers, amps, everything you need. Guests line up about to spread some knowledge. Big Sound teaching more than you learn in college. Let's Talk Car Audio, a page he has. It's on Facebook and it's run by Zaz. Got a question to drop? Go ahead and of course ask. Deviant for life, yeah, the man in the horse mask. It's giveaway time, even the haters can win. See him flapping the gums, but then they entering in. Say what you want about Jeff, but I tell you this, he pays 32 people that can feed their kids. Haters getting mad, they be crying to mommy, but we pay him no mind, we fold them up like origami. Big Jeff coming through like he in a tsunami. Deviant riding shoddy in the Gajami.
Episode 63, and tonight's special night. I know this is an unusual night, but I got somebody coming on tonight that was here 60-some episodes ago. Has been on here multiple times, right? And we're going to be talking with Jacob Fuller. Normally, we have him on with other guests and trying to fit him in, and that guy is filled with information that we never can get the time. So, big night tonight. But you see me wearing the Big Jeff chains. We got 10,000 of them on the way in. Back in 2023, our biggest year, we were giving these things out, and we're going to just flood the U.S. with Big Jeff chains again to have some fun in the competition world. We got people in here tonight. I got Dusty, Ryan, D, Chris Dahl, Shane. I mean, they're pouring in. Do me a favor. Big night tonight. Let me tell you why. We have to announce multiple giveaways. We have audio pipe giveaway. We have Jensen giveaway. And Jacob said, hey, I'm coming on. We're doing a giveaway tonight, which wasn't even planned, right, for some subs. So we have multiple giveaways, right? So tonight's the night to hit the like button, because it's definitely not on a normal night. Share this out on your feed and in your groups. I want to get a bunch of people in tonight, kick it with Jacob. I want to kick it with Big Jeff and the team, and we're going to give away a bunch of product, okay? All right, just some announcements like we usually do as we get things wound up. AudioPipe's still doing bi-weekly giveaways with us, which is huge, right? So tonight, the giveaway winner is going to win a set of 12-inch AudioPipe subs and a 3,000-watt amp. And then tonight, at I think 9 o'clock after the show, we kick off the next giveaway, which we'll announce in 2 weeks. And guess what? Get ready for this. In 2 weeks, I'm going to have the most ghetto-ass car audio Indian known to man, American-based Bob, and his son Gerwin will be on here in 2 weeks. So we're going to be doing giveaways for that too. So we got some really cool stuff coming up. Trying to get ready back in the competition world. We got the Yukon. Should be done here in a few more weeks. Hopefully debuting it at Made of Steel this year. Okay, tonight, Jacob Fuller threw in for you all a set of Zv7 8-inch. Yes, refurbished, but done by Sundown. Got them here in the box. We'll be giving away tonight. Now, to win that, because that's just the giveaway we're doing tonight, start commenting this. Sundown space FTW. So Sundown space for the win. And then we're going to give away a set of those 8s at the end of the night after we give away the rest of the giveaways. Okay, tax time. Plenty of sales going on BigJeffAudio.com. Pretty much everything we got is on there. You got another week or two on most stuff. So, I know some people's taxes came in late, but we can always try to get you financed, and you can pay it once that hits. But either way, please shop at BigJeffAudio.com. Show your love and your support. If you haven't hit that like button, do it now. Do that now. Share this out. I want to get a bunch of people in here because we got multiple, and I mean multiple, giveaways. Okay, so we're all here tonight on a special night to kick it with my man, Jacob from Sundown, who is just filled with information. And we got some stuff to talk about tonight that you're all going to be talking about. And he is going to answer as many questions as possible. But, like always, at Big Sound by Big Jeff Podcast, my team throws together a little collab of who we have on. And we're going to kick that off right now. When we come back, we're going to have the man Jacob on. Check out this.
In 2006, a vision sparked a flame. Jacob Fuller entered the game from a garage dream to audio fame. Sundown Audio rose to acclaim. Bass so deep, it shakes the ground. Sundown's legacy, a thunderous sound. Innovations born from passion's fire. Jacob's vision lifted speakers higher. From size amps to nightshades might, pushing boundaries, reaching new heights with silver devil tech and 5-inch coils, revolutionizing with relentless toil. So deep, it shakes the ground. Sundown's legacy, a thunderous sound. Innovations born from passion's fire. Jacob's vision lifted speakers higher.
That made me think of something, and I wanted to just start off, and we'll get into all the stuff. But the amount of cars you've sat in over the years, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you still look for now that still makes you go, God damn? You know what I mean? Because the amount of vehicles you sat in is probably in the thousands or, tens of thousands. But at this point, Jacob, what is it that still, is there any cars that you got in the last 2 years that make you go, holy shit?
Oh, absolutely. Vegas Showdown, there was like Diablo, literally blew me away about door. Duncan's, Saltbaker, all those are pretty awesome. And those guys never stop upgrading. Joel Sparky's vehicle, it totally been. There's so many, even to this day. And if you see,
I think that's the biggest thing too.
Because it's so intense.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing too. A lot of people, because we're running some promos for Audio Pipe and B2 Audio USA with sponsoring, and it's hard, you let people down, but people got to understand those guys are changing their stuff up yearly, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes early. They're putting that time, it's like a job to them. It's not a hobby, it's a whole experience. And you brought up some big names that are constantly changing the game, right, and stepping it up, which separates, doing that. And I think that's what people got to understand, the difference of a hobby and actual competitors. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Like those guys, like I said, Duncan, Matthew, Britt, those guys, they go to all these big shows. They invest a ton of their own time and money to get there.
Money. Big money,
They have such a good time, like giving people demos. And I'll never forget what Steven said to me. He's like, look, he said, I don't care if my servers are boiling. If some little kid comes up and says he wants a demo, I'm turning it on.
Right. And that's the cool thing. They're already hitting you up already. When is the M series coming? Let's just dive into that. We had a huge video. We gave it away. Actually, I got to give a shout out. One of your biggest supporters, I hear it all the time, is Blaine from Liberty Base. Jason.
Yeah.
Blaine is, man, he is just Sundown all the way. Yeah, he's a huge. Yeah, there he is. Mini trucking right there. So he won that M series. You guys sent me that prototype, and that's been the thing because we had them up pre-sale and we had to take them down. Break it down. What's going on with the M series, Jacob?
Yeah, so it took a little bit longer to wrap up the final details, like the packaging and the boot and all that. But they just finished production and loaded the containers. So that usually takes like 45 days or so.
I'm just learning this now, but you explain people when you for like the M series. Explain to
Yeah.
people how long this really takes designing.
Yeah.
When you're not just going Alibaba and putting a name on something.
Yeah.
What is the timeline really? And let's just say the M series. I mean,
Yeah.
how long ago was this a project to get to this point?
That was probably about 2 years.
Yeah,
My
that's a lot of.
my development cycles are running about 2 years right now for a lot of things. And I could put something together and put it on the market pretty quickly if I wanted to, but then it's not going to be exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean? And at this point, we have a very compelling product line, so I'm not going to rush anything to market at this point.
100%. You guys have stepped up the game, and when Excess came in and you got to really spend full time on it, now everything you guys do has to be above where it was. I mean, you have to,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. That's the
100%.
next level. And, you know, my development team has expanded as well. I have other people that I can kind of rely on to help me finish some of these projects, especially cosmetics, because everybody knows that I've never been like super into cosmetics. You know, I make the product work and it usually looks cool, but you know, as far as like colors and things like that's never been me. But now I've got some help with that, so you'll start seeing some more cosmetic touches like the new M packaging, things like that.
Main Toe 83 is the U series the best sounding Sundown sub. Never ran Sundown more SQ.
So
U series.
that really depends on what your definition of sound quality is. Like if you mean objective, measurable, low distortion, then the answer is no. That would be our Mega series subs. And actually it would probably be the Zv7 as far as objectively low measurable distortion and high output. Now the U series is different. It's I've covered this before, but we'll cover it again. It's what I call a traditional suspension subwoofer, which means that as the subwoofer gets turned up and moves a little bit further, the sound gets punchier because you have a little bit of exaggeration in the upper bass. Now, a lot of people interpret that as sound quality. They hear the punch, they call it warm. So if you're one of those people that likes that, then the answer would be yes. But if you're one of those people that likes objectively low measurable distortion, then the answer would be no. You'd go to a Mega platform.
And I've seen you guys been doing a lot of, well, I don't call it white labeling, but you're producing subs for different companies.
Yeah.
You had Sparked Innovations and others. I think GP's got coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, and I'm just curious. How do you look at that as a Sundown sub, or do you look at it as their sub? I'm just curious. I mean, I'm sure they have some insight on what they want, but they're leaving up to you to make something different. How do you look at a product like that?
It kind of depends. Some people come to me and they say, "Hey, I want a sub that sounds like your sub." Or other people, like the Sparked in particular, they came to me with very certain thing that they wanted, and it's actually quite different than what I would normally do under Sundown. So I can really do anything. Like if you say, "I want my sub to sound like this," I can make that. I have my signature sound that I look for, but you know, I have enough knowledge where I can basically reach any goal that the person wants.
Massive here says, will the magnet boot engraving and the packaging make the cost increase?
It's trivial. It's like on a $500 sub, that's like $3 or $4.
Gotcha. That was a good question there, Massive SPL. So let me ask you this. I wanted to make a big Jeff sub, right? Mm-hmm. Would you push me in the range of more of like a 750 watt 1000 or, you know, bigger, especially being first line, first of it? What would your recommendation be if somebody was getting into the game?
Well, for you in particular, since you do a lot of business online, I would probably focus on somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 because that's really hot in the online market.
Right.
You know, but if you were like a brick and mortar company, you know, if you came to me and you were a brand that only sold to brick and mortar stores, I would be like, let's go down here to like 500 to 1,000.
Right. Because that's that walk in and out type. I get you. So tonight we're talking about a couple things. I know everybody's obviously asked about the M series, but we're going to be talking about the Zv7s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even think about it. We just shipped out some Zv6s, and I hate having to pick those fucking things up. Right? So I can't imagine the Zv7. We're going to talk about that. Obviously, the SA series V3. Go ahead, Ben. Pull that up. We got a presentation on the V3 10-inch and 12-inch.
There's a good question from Chris Dahl whenever we can get to him.
Let's pull them up real quick right now. Hold on. There you go. How can Nightshade subs make so much bass with a smaller motor? Great question.
So that's super cool, and I'm very proud of that. That is my first magnetic circuit patent that was granted. You can kind of think of the nightshade as it's similar to like a radial, like most people when they think radial they would think like the DDZ with the pillars. So functionally, the nightshade is somewhat similar to that. Now, where it differs from that is it obviously doesn't have the pillars, and the DDZ doesn't have my distribution ring, which is the point of novelty. So basically, you have a cylinder instead of pillars with Neo lining that at whatever the gap height is, and on the inside there's a steel cylinder that distributes the magnetism evenly, even though there's gaps in between the magnets. So the flux is totally even all the way around. The really interesting thing about the nightshade, V4, V5, V6, all of them together, they have 2 pounds of Neo. It only takes 2 pounds of Neo to make a sub stronger than a ZV6 in that.
Wow.
And, and the magnetism is super focused. If you're wondering how I can get so much bass out of the magnetism, actually, if you own a nightshade, go out to your sub right now and try to stick something metal to it. It will not stick. It'll just fall right off. There's no flux going to the outside of that motor.
It's all on the inside pulling in on the voice coil.
All of it goes into the gap. Like you can't even get a paper clip to stick to it.
Man, stop it. We're not doing this tonight. All right. So that's a cool thing. I want a question because I've been doing a lot of my videos like talking about heat, right? And energy is just basically non-destructible. It just you convert energy into something else. With the nightshade, does that help with heat reduction or disbursement, or what is that to keep that thing running without shutting down?
On the V4 was just launching the technology, and the V5 was just a small step. Going to the V6, we took out all the stops on heat distribution. So, man, there's so much going on in the V6. So from the outside, you can see all the plating on the outside. That's all cast aluminum. That is functional heat sinking, including the plate on the back. Now, the really cool thing about the plating around the outside of the Nightshade version 6 is there's also a little piece of aluminum, 8 of them, that go from that plate into the motor and connect with the gap distribution ring. So we're actually, and that gap distribution ring is going to be the hottest thing in the motor. And then that pulls the heat out through those plates into the external heat sinking. Not only that, but what appears to be the top plate of the Nightshade is another piece of aluminum connected to the basket. And then not only that, below that, there's another piece of aluminum supporting the bottom of the magnets, which connects to the magnet shorting ring, which has direct airflow from the slits up and down the sides. So it's very difficult for heat to build up in that Nightshade motor. And sorry, there's a fourth cooling feature I forgot to mention. On the top of the pole piece of the Nightshade version 6, there's a little piece that looks like the inlet of a turbocharger. And that's a little, I call it a aerodynamically preferential airflow piece. So basically, when the cone of the subwoofer moves forward, the air just goes up and around it, up under the dust cap, right? So now your hot air's up here. But when it goes down, that inside part that looks like a turbo becomes aerodynamically preferential. So the air goes down in there, out below at a really high velocity. We actually use computer simulations to accelerate that air as much as possible without making noise. Goes down and out the slits really fast. So the cool thing about that is that air is going really fast, so it gets away from the motor. And so then when it goes back up, the air it sucks back in is not that same hot air.
Okay, so you have a temperature rating on the voice coil, but by doing all that cooling feature, you allow it to barely ever really get to that temperature. And if it is, it's definitely way over. Okay, Christoph says, did you go to MIT be able to figure this stuff out? Great question, too, man, because not saying you weren't smart when you started, but obviously you've accumulated so much knowledge over the years. But when you first started and got into this, where did this all even start from?
So a lot of you guys being enthusiasts, you're going to like this. I was an enthusiast just like you guys. And I started really getting into car audio in 2000, and the place to learn was the forums. So I would get on the forums and I would start reading, and
but this time, forums weren't attacking you. They were actually giving
exactly. Okay. And at that time, there was a lot of industry insiders in there, giving out really good information. Actually, my technical mentor is Dan Wiggins, and I posted a picture of him on my Facebook page yesterday. And he would post like these huge, posts like incredibly detailed technical information. He would write and publish white papers and all that. And I would read all that. And then I had the benefit of actually meeting Dan and keeping in touch with him now for 20 years. And furthermore, I was in college at Western Carolina University doing electronics engineering. And my one of my roommates was Nick Lemons, who owns Stereo Integrity. And he was already selling Stereo Integrity subwoofers when we were in college, by the way. So his business is older than mine. And so we would sit around and we would read like the loudspeaker design cookbook and like Voice Coil magazine and have a couple beers and talk about theoretical speaker design stuff. And Dan provided us with at the time, a pretty crude FEA tool. So we would be simulating motors and voice coils over a couple of beers in college in our dorm room. And that was kind of how I started with the learning. And then from there, you know, I just kept reading the forums and I learned a lot from, trying to think of his name, Manville Smith from JL Audio used to post a lot. I learned a lot from him. And I'm struggling to put the real name and the screen name together. There was another guy, his screen name was Warbleed on Cardio Forum. He follows me on Facebook now, but he was really good resource, especially when I was a noob, you know, just to explain small parameters, things like that. And yeah, man. And actually the best thread that ever existed on the forums was on the Cardio Magazine forum. It was a discussion between Dan Wiggins and Matt Overpeck from Audiomobile, and he brought his business back out. He makes Audiomobile again. But they had this discussion that's probably 20 or 30 pages long. It was the equivalent of like 2 college classes of loudspeaker design.
How technology back then, technology now, how has that helped you with designing R&D? I mean, I'm sure that's had to have helped out majorly.
Yeah, you know, that time period where I was talking about, where I was on the forum, that was what we call the XMAX Wars era. That's when the W7 came out. That's when the Diabrama came out. That's when the TC LMS came out. And that was, to me, that was like the start of like true high output, low distortion technology in subwoofers. But that started to stagnate after the XMAX Wars were over. It really stagnated probably from like 2006 up until I made my Mega platform. And then that's when I took up that mantle that was started by those guys and really started pushing the technology again. And Jeff, you might have seen, I made a post that some of my other patents have been published and they're in the process of being approved. And that technology is just going to be ridiculous. And I'm glad that your AI song picked it up, the Silver Devil technology. Man, I'm so excited about that.
Let me ask this, because I always wonder, I never even asked you, I just always forget. What is the big difference when you talk about the ZV, the Inhuman? I mean, even compare those two, right? Because we're talking about the Inhuman or the SDN, right? And you're talking about the ZV line. How do you explain the difference in those?
So when you get past our standard line and the Mega line, as you go up the Mega line, basically every time you go up, you tend to gain, usually you gain linear Xmax, not always, but most of the time. But you always gain more motor force. Each step up, you gain more motor force and more thermal power handling. And then I add more tricks and stuff for low distortion. So the Inhuman is kind of off to the side a little bit. It is the top of motor force right now, but its main focus wasn't necessarily just low distortion. It was just absolutely brutal motor force and thermal power handling. But yeah,
does that make it get louder in SPO lower? What does that mean?
So that motor force allows the subwoofer to basically move the moving assembly with more force, which can equate to more SPL, yes. So so just to put it in a more direct term. So for example, let's go with the current line. If you go from an XV3 to a ZV6, most people gain dB and a half. You know, you go from like ZV6 to SDDN, most people gain dB and a half. Same thing. When you go from ZV6 to ZV7, that's about a dB and a half.
So if you were trying to build world record, what would it be with?
At any frequency, so including high frequencies, that I would use my Neo because it has the best motor force to mass ratio of anything I make right now.
And then looking at size, cone area, there's always been a debate, 10s, 12s, 15, 18. Is it just about as much cone area as possible, or do you think that's not really the answer? For like extreme SPL?
Yeah. Not necessarily. And you can see there's a lot of approaches to extreme SPL. Like you see like RP Patel has as many 10s as possible. And that's great because, you know, each one has less strain on it. But then you have somebody like Alan Dante who has much fewer subwoofers also doing really good scores. but then each woofer has a little bit more strain on it. So if I had to pick, I would pick the RP approach, so that you're much less likely to
Gotcha.
and more of them, so you're less likely to destroy
An
the
18 or a 21 or even bigger, smaller.
Yeah, you get up in the 180s and it's so hard on the cones and stuff. So like I like RP's approach to using significantly more smaller cones.
Okay, so now we're talking about the Zv7.
Yeah, sure.
We got a short video of it. Well, we're gonna get to that question. Ben, pull up what you guys got on the Zv7.
All right, folks, got the first Zv7 18 here, and what's so exciting about this is this is my new 12-inch spider for a 3.3-inch coil. It's the first one we built this way. At the beginning, on the onset, you'll hear a slight buzz. That's the amplifier clipping slightly. Cycle. Watch the spider this time. So, super impressive. Just barely warm. All the cooling is working great. New awesome long coil, and the spider is very, very effortlessly handling this. You can, like I said, I'm clipping a salt 4 at 1 ohm, and this amplifier is rated for significantly more powerful than the subwoofer is. But yeah, there it is, guys. I know I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait to see these in people's builds. And I know that some of you guys, are going to really appreciate the extra excursion provided by this 12-inch spider on the.
So let me ask this: when you're talking about motor force, right? Doesn't that also have to be the spider has to handle that force, right? So
all the moving parts, yeah.
Right, because I mean, the whole purpose of it is it's bouncing back, right? And that spider has to handle that the excursion, but more that force, right?
Yeah, the biggest thing for the force would be like the glue joints and like the cone body from not tearing itself apart. That's why the Inhuman is only going to be sold with a carbon fiber cone. We actually did a computer simulation of the moving assembly at the full 6 inches peak to peak mechanical limit, and when it was at the peak and reversed, it was some stupid amount of, it was like 30,000 pounds of force or something like that at that neck joint
in the woofer.
Yeah, so we calculated if it was a paper cone, it would have to have been like a ½ inch thick.
So, oh wow! So you have to make it carbon, right? I got
yeah.
Okay. And then I know you wanted to bring up, we're talking about the SA series, the V3, 10, and 12.
Yes.
We got some, why don't you break down what we're looking at here?
Yeah, super excited about this one. So as compared to the V2, SA V2, you can see that this has the new basket that I originally tooled for the UV2. So that gives us a taller cone and bigger spider on the 10 and the 12. So we have a lot more mechanical travel, without any mechanical noises as well. And then also we retooled the spider. It's still a parabolic suspension curve, but we're able to center the curve a little better and make it extend a little bit further. Going to the inside, the coil is longer, giving us an additional 3 millimeters of linear stroke. And the motor force is a little bit higher, cooling is a little bit better, and the inductive performance is better. So basically, if you like the SA version 2, the V3 does everything it does, but louder, with less distortion, and more power handling.
If you were trying to classify a customer on the SA series, how would you kind of say that? Who is that for, really?
So let's see, I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain it. The SA is like a traditional sound, like the U series, but if you don't need or can't afford like the U series, that's your guy right there. The SAV3 is essentially a miniature U version 2.
Okay, so everyday guy, could they still try to compete with it and things like that, or they need?
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, I have guys that compete with SA series, and they always have.
100%. All right, well, listen, this is what we got. We're giving away, well, let's get Shane here. Very nice. I've seen several builds that are very impressive. Okay, we're going to be announcing some giveaways for Audio Pipe Jensen that have been running. Jacob was nice enough to throw in some subwoofers. If you want to get in on that tonight, I need you to comment Sundown FTW for the win. And that will.
It was getting dark.
That's all right. And that will, hopefully, we're going to be giving those away too tonight. So we got a lot of giveaways tonight. We're going to take a quick video break. We're going to be back on with Jacob Fuller, who's been on my show from day one to now, and I love him having on. His first time, just able to just talk back and forth with him, which is having a lot of fun. We'll be right back with Jacob Fuller from Sundown.
Yep.
Okay, this is the box upside down. So this will be flexing. It'll be double that one right here. And double mount through the side, and then the flexor goes on the side. So this is the magnets. The magnets are going to go here. So this is a mock-up of the magnets. Make sure everything fits. Okay. So if the vehicle was 2 inches wider, it would be in there.
I got a question for you, because when we put up about the MDF, there was always, you got trolls everywhere, but real hardcore about using MDF and why you're not using birch or this or that, even though it's fucking 2 inches of MDF. What is your opinion on that, of the different woods when they're building boxes, especially with your down woofers? Does that really play an effect if the wood is thick enough?
If it's thick enough, probably not. The only direct testing I'm familiar with is like really old school testing where it was like, just double layered stuff. But some SPL guys reported some gains, and birch is stiffer. But if you have the thick enough MDF and braced, you can make up for that.
Now, let me ask you this: what is the vision for Sundown moving forward? Because we talked earlier, and you said 1 to 2 years, even on R&D, right? So stuff you're working even on now might not be seen till 2027, 2028. What is
or longer?
Yeah. What do you think the future is? Does it just keep getting better and better with Sundown, or does it ever top out with subwoofers?
I don't know. I guess if it ever does top out, then I guess I can retire. But until then, I'm here.
And then
but there's some really crazy
amps,
stuff,
which have been huge. Assault amps. I'd love grabbing Assault 8 today because I know it's a big money amp. Do you think Sundown is going to go further in the amplifiers, or is it just going to specialize like
Absolutely.
it is? Oh, it is. Okay.
So I can't say a whole lot about it. We're not ready, but we have and the name is still pending, but I'm calling it Salt version 2. That's what I want it to be called. We are working on that, and it's going to be something very special. It is not just an upgraded amp that's just hey, here's the new board. It's not that. It is very different, and I think that people are going to be really pleased with it. But not only that, but we have a bunch of other things we're working on as well. Some of the stuff I've been working on for a long time, like I was trying to make a GAN amplifier for a long time, but we might go back and redesign that. That's something I wanted to manufacture here in the States, and that's going to become especially important going forward. And we do have some connections on amplifier stuff and assembly in the States. So that's one of the things I'm pushing for on amps, plus the Salt V2 stuff. And we do have a brick and mortar line of amps coming out right now too, just for our local retailers. Those are going to be really sweet.
This is a great question here. Well, not a question. He says still on my 24-inch sub. Is there a reason there's not the 21s, the 20s, or the bigger stuff on the Sundown side?
It's just not a huge seller, I did offer a 24-inch Zv7, but we didn't sell very many of them. So it's like I haven't pushed for it. And to be honest, if I was to make something like that, I'll get to Julian here in a minute. Sorry, Julian. If I was to make like a 21 or a 24 or something like that, I would want to tool all my own parts, to make it perform the way I want. And it would be really hard to recoup that investment, I feel like.
Is there a Zv8 or Zv7 going public before GTA 6?
So, Julian, sorry for the delay. The Zv7 motors are almost done being produced, so I'm hoping we'll get the Zv7s out to the public within 2 months or so. By Zv8, you might mean the Z8. Hopefully, if I'm answering your question right, the Z8 production is also about to wrap up. We just sent the packaging design, so hopefully, again, the Z8s would be probably 2 months or so. And if you do mean Z version 8, I have already started development, but when the Zv7 comes out, you can expect 4 to 5 years of that being on the market before I actually release the Zv8.
And Julian, you can always shop at bigjeffaudio.com on all your Sundown products. Hint, hint. Okay, Zaz, are you going to start off offering more accessories and products? Hey, I'll tell you what. We sell a lot of Sundown RCAs, the nice.
Good.
I think
I love those.
Yeah, really like the ends on them, how strong they are. I mean, it's a heavy RCA, man.
You might not know this, Jeff, but I actually those end pieces on those RCAs, I actually drew them by hand on graph paper, like old school style, to try to get like the perfect shape for like gripping and things like that.
I used a set on my test bench a couple videos back, and you got to really put those things on. You got to be careful if you got a cheap amp RCA. Those things grab, and they just don't come off.
Yep.
I mean,
and they grab the inside as well. If you look at the plug, it's actually dual split, and it sticks out a little bit, so it actually has outward force on that center plug, in addition to the tight on the outside. So that was.
I think everybody needs to understand too. If you haven't worked with Sundown product, it's not just product. I mean, stuff like this, and even like I was surprised using those RCAs, because I'll tell you what, when you get it on, Jacob, it's not just popping off for sure. All right, Shane says I'd love to see something similar to the ZVL, maybe a DSP from Sundown. DSPs are getting real popular. I mean, we've been doing very well with a lot of them.
Our development team is going down a lot of directions.
Whoa. So did you ever think years ago you're going to be sitting here saying my development team?
No.
Okay. I just want to, just the way you're saying it now, it's all free flowing, right? And even last podcast, we really didn't get into that. But hearing you say it's just like, well, my development team. I mean, did you really think, back in the early 2000s, you were going to be saying that? Man?
Never.
That's crazy.
Never, man. And I might have said this before, but I guess it's worth repeating. Is like the reason that I got in this industry is a little different than some other guys. I didn't get into it necessarily to like make a ton of money, although I expected to make a living, and making a ton of money is great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason that I got in this business was I had these cool ideas and I just had to make them and get them out in the world. And that has been very important to me.
I think, and we talked about this last time, I think that's been the biggest thing when you got to grow the company and come in, you were able to start doing what you do best, right, all day long, compared to years ago where you had to run the company too. And you've definitely seen it in the product and everything else for sure. If y'all just tuning in, we got Jacob Fuller here, which is special to me because he's been on the Big Sound by Big Jeff multiple times. He was one of my first guests. And this is really the first night we've just been able to kick it without other people, and it's been real cool. We're going to be giving away some Sundown subs here in a little bit. So if you haven't done it, comment the word Sundown for the win, FTW. And we're going to give that away after we announce the Jensen and the bi-weekly audio pipe winners. If you got some questions, we still got a little bit of time. We're trying to kind of force them in. I think there was one more thing we had on the notes here. Well, we talked about the M series. I think the M series, Jacob, in my opinion, it's going to be a game changer, man, because for that price range, right, I was totally blown away. You know what I really like about the M series? I ain't going to lie. I've done a lot of that flex set. I hate doing them, but people love to see the woofers move, and, you know, we built the whole thing. The venting on the M series, the amount of air that came out, and that my rack is open. I've had so many woofers in there, my friend. The amount of air that was blowing out and you couldn't hear it, that's what blew my mind. I'm going to tell you right now, because I've had a lot of subwoofers in there, and I'm not a bad thing, right? But you hear that air, right? And I think that gets me. When the M series was pumping and that thing was moving, it was just blowing air out. But how do you get it not to make that sound?
It's really difficult, and in certain designs, it's a lot harder than others. Like, for example, like the Nightshade has a little bit more air noise than the other ones, but we did everything we could do to mitigate that. But that comes from doing simulations on the airflow, which we have the ability to do at Sundown. We can actually do a computer simulation of airflow. And that's going back to where you showed the Zv7 video, you'll notice that that one was also very silent too. But it has like a cap on top of the pole that accelerates the air dramatically. But what we did is we ran computer simulations at every height at fractions of 0.1 millimeter back and forth until we found where the highest velocity that didn't have a whistling noise was.
That's and understand this, everyone. If you're watching my videos, I hope you do. I've had my hands on so much product that little things like that stand out, and most people don't really think about that. But the amount of air that came out of that thing and you couldn't hear it. The only thing I heard was that at one point you had my whole rack almost jump off the ground, which doesn't usually happen. There's a good amount of weight and it's sturdy. Super impressed. Hey, if you got any questions, let's get them in for sure. We got some time still before we announce some giveaways.
I got two things I can address.
Yeah, 100%. Let us know. We'll pull it up.
I'll continue with the airflow a little bit, because you can go too far with reducing air noise and then you don't get any velocity. So you notice that it had an enormous amount of velocity without noise. If the velocity drops, basically what you end up doing is the same air that comes out goes back in. And so you really don't have very much net cooling effect.
Okay. You know, that was one of the biggest problems, Jacob, with my first build. The heat that was generating out when I had the def bounces in there, that pressure was pulling it right back in, right? So I was never able to get that heat out of the box. And when you said that, that's what I was thinking about, because I used to feel the heat come across my face. It would almost burn when the coils really got hot. But you're 100% right. So you finding the right mixture of that velocity but still that movement, I mean, that's, again, it's in the R&D, it's in the designing, and not just, hey, I want this basket with that magnet, with that cone. So that's this incredible thing. So what did you do back then, though, before you had all the technology you have now? I think that's where I was trying to get to earlier with how was technology changed. What did you do back then?
So I made a ton of prototypes. So I would do my best, using math, geometry, things like that. I would come up with my best idea. Then I would build it, test it, and modify it from there. One thing I used to do a lot of is I had a little setup. I had a variac knob and a wall socket, and I would plug that into the woofer, dial it up to basically the RMS of the woofer, and let it play until it blew up. And then I would, and every time I would do another test, I would see if it took longer. So I'd actually started developing the vent rings before I had the ability to really simulate it, and that was basically build, test, modify, build, test, modify.
So electricity coming out of the wall is frequency. It's a hertz, right? And you're
60.
Right. So you basically built to like a potentiometer in a way to adjust the voltage coming out, which then was basically your tone generator.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and that
That's
was a
crazy.
really dirty signal too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like it was a really difficult test.
Right.
And so I learned a lot about thermal power handling doing that. There's like so many little tricks, in thermal power handling that I can't reveal all of them because you know how it is.
Great question here. I love the BART icon. Could the M series handle small box requirements such as the U series? Great question.
I don't know that I would go as small as a U series, but you don't have to go that big. You really
Where,
don't.
what is the
Especially if you
recommended?
have power.
I mean, I don't know if people do sealed anymore. What's the recommended unvented then?
So like a 12, probably 2.25, a 15, like 4.25. You could use, which is pretty small, I would say, for a high stroke driver.
Great question on that.
And I had to see.
Here's a good one here. Jacob, would you be able
New
to build
style
new
sub.
style sub with old style frame and motor?
Depends on what you mean by old style frame. Like I would never put like a big Z motor on a 12 spoke. No. But if you can specify a little bit further, I can probably answer. But I had one that was way back I wanted to get to. Somebody said Zv7 versus SDDN. And so I get this question a lot. So I designed the SDDN specifically for Stephen Duncan's van, which is a 6-cylinder bandpass. So my focus there was as much motor force as possible. So that's what I did. Now, you go to a Zv7, it has a little bit less motor force than the SDDN, which also makes it more friendly to a 4th order enclosure as far as bandwidth goes. Not to say you can't use an SDDN in a 4th order, you can, but it has less bandwidth than the Zv7. The Zv7, on the other hand, has more linear excursion than the SDDN and better inductive performance. So just hopefully that answers your question, RG.
Let me ask you this, because I read all the time. Guys build an SPL vehicle, right? What enclosure, 6 or 4, what do you push him into if he's
So
using?
like, we talking burps?
No. Let's just say, let's do an average. Guy's going to compete in multiple classes, right? And he's going to run the DB line.
Right.
He's asking, Jacob, what should I go with, right? Where are you pushing?
So if they're doing a wall, I would push most people to a 4th order because it's so much easier to get that right. And it's a lot more forgiving. Like 6 orders can be really challenging. They have their benefits. Like you can broaden the bandwidth. You can shorten the excursion envelope over a much broader envelope as well and shove more power into it. And actually, that's where the Inhuman comes in. The Inhuman was made specifically for a 6-order enclosure. It has over twice, it's about 2.5 times the motor force of an SDDN.
Wow.
And someone asked about efficiency earlier. So actually, while the Inhuman will handle a lot of power thermally, it does not require a lot of power to get moving. It'll get moving like crazy on 3K. And that's where the 6th order comes in to reduce that excursion so you can dump power and take advantage of that thermal power handling.
Okay, here's my question, because I get it all the time here selling product. Is there a reason why, and you do it, you underrate the sub's power rating big time?
Yeah. It's just been my tradition going back to when I plugged the things into the wall socket. Like my power ratings were kind of based on being able to be plugged into a wall socket for like 5 to 10 minutes straight. So, and I'm glad you asked that question because my sales team has been pushing me to re-rate the stuff, and we're going to re-rate the stuff a little bit.
I think, yeah, but you know what? It's like when you rate it there, I like it because it's like, I always believe you should always go above RMS anyway because you can always tune it, right? And
yeah.
The famous line we get when people are writing in with warranty issues on any product, oh, I only had X amount of watts, and they don't understand that underpower is just as bad as overpower, that better to have more power and tune it down. But I don't think I had a problem with that. I kind of like it, but if yours says $3,000, it's a $4,000 or $5,000 5,000 watt all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we are changing the ratings, but they're still.
What about a 3 rating? I've
like,
seen some brands do that where it was like a peak, an RMS, and like I don't know, you call it whatever, but I guess you don't even really need that, man.
Yeah. So we are going to include peak ratings going forward. That's not something that I like, but the sales team brought it to my attention that customers are missing out on our products on like Amazon and eBay because they're sorting by power handling, and they don't even get to our shit because it's on. Sorry for the language. They don't even get to our stuff because it's on like the 5th page, because all these other brands, it's like all these max
Yeah,
ratings.
because people just think bigger is better, and they, and I've been a lot lately of my videos talking about efficiency. Uh, and always way. Here's the best way I always explain, Jacob. I had an F-150 a couple years back, but it was Eco 6 twin turbo, which basically with a few mods created more power in the V8, and it was more efficient.
Right.
And the way I explain it is, I was able to do with 6 cylinders what the 8 cylinders could do. Less gas, everything else. So it's the same thing I think in the car audio world. But you do have those people, man. They're just, it's 5,000 watts. That's not realizing that efficiency means I'd rather be able to have to run 2,000 and get the same output than having 5,000. I mean,
and you go back to our thing about the airflow. So like a lot of our 3-inch coil drivers will handle a lot more power than you would think because the airflow is so efficient.
Perfect. Let's get here. 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch. People think bigger and better. Break it down for us. Let's look at those 3 numbers.
Yeah.
3-inch, 4-inch, and 5-inch. Yeah. How do you explain it? Pros and cons.
So I've traditionally stuck to like 3 or 3.3 now, because it's just a really good balance of the mass to the motor force and the excursion and all that. It's not to say that you can't make a 4-inch coil driver good, but like say I had a Zv7, which had a 3.3-inch coil, and I wanted to make a sub that would do everything that it does per watt. I'm going to end up with a way more expensive sub that's way bigger and heavier, and I'm going to just go way overboard, But why? Because 99% of people they don't need to run that much power, So, but if I just took the Zv7 with the same size motor and all that and just slapped the 4-inch coil in it, it would be quieter up until you got to those high power ranges. And why would you want to run more power when you don't have to? Now, this segues into the Silver Devil technology that was your AI song so intelligently, I would say, brought up. So that is my technology. I'm going to skip to 5-inch coils with that technology. And in fact, it requires a 5-inch coil, and that will be coming out on the Mega Platform version 2. And I've figured out a way to get enough motor force to make that 5-inch coil not inefficient without making the sub ridiculously heavy.
Okay. Wealth of information, which is what I was hoping we were going to get tonight. I learned a few things. I think everybody else here did. You know what they're here for, Jacob. Obviously, to see you. Nobody gives crap about me, and they just want the giveaways, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. So we're coming up close, everyone. I'm going to do the Sundown at the very end, make you stay here. I always cut it off at an hour. I know you all got stuff to do. But we got a couple giveaways. Working with Audio Pipe, I've known the guys since I was just coming up in the industry as a kid. They were doing it bi-weekly through tax time. This giveaway, Ben, did you even load the giveaway for that? Not the winner. Let me get these guys in.
Get back and pop in real quick. Thank you, Anthony. Someone said, "Is there a new team sub?" Yes, I'm working on Team V3. That was Shane.
Wait, go there. What sub is that?
The team is to date the only 4-inch coil sub that I've made, and so I will be making a team version 3 as kind of an in between, waiting for the Silver Devil technology. The team version 3 will be like a bigger Nightshade version 6.
Eric Dye says 5-inch coil got to be huge.
Oh yeah, when I get the Mega Platform V2, you guys are going to see some really special spiders. The largest
5-inch. Just I got to finish this up, but I'm curious. Does the 5-inch coil just make it like it's going to be louder or no?
So, as you know, giant amps are cheap now. So everybody wants to dump more. But the big thing with my 5-inch coil technology, I'll be able to take the motor force up leaps and bounds. So not only will you be able to handle the power, but you'll actually be able to use the reasonable amounts of power and get a good result. And my biggest Mega Platform version 2 frame that I'm going to be tooling will have a 16-inch spider on it.
16-inch spider.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, last question. Are all the spiders really made out of the same material? Or when we're talking about motor force, is it just woven thicker, or is that going to be the new technology, a new type of material for the spider?
There's been some, like, for example, I'm actually using a slightly new material, but most spiders are basically mix some other materials. I'm starting to mix some other materials in as well. We've been studying in the background. I've had discussions with our dev team, and even other people in the industry, is I think fabric is going to start limiting us, and that's something that I have been thinking about for years, and something that could come out in the next 5 to 10 years would be spiders that are not fabric. I'll leave it at not fabric for now.
Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. So are those videos been the actual giveaway videos?
The ones that say old, yes.
Okay, so first giveaway tonight was the Jensen amplifier, inexpensive, budget friendly, something they wanted.
Hey, it's giveaway time.
Giveaway? Yeah, giveaway.
All right.
Well, I'd like to start calling them, what's the other word? Sweepstakes. But it's giveaway. So if you're watching this video, hopefully you watched the unboxing. We had some new Jensen budget amps. It was a 4-channel and a monoblock. The unboxing, and we dynoed it, and it was first dyno on the new setup. We got the green screen kicking, we got the big cell bank.
Okay, so this was for a monoblock and a 4-channel built-in DSP, normally coming out with 149 mat. Inexpensive budget amps by Jensen. So you all watched the unboxing / dyno, and you all did the comment, text, and all that on the giveaway video. All right, we got a winner for that one. Let's go ahead and find out who won the Jensen amps.
Here we go.
I'm going to screw that up. I guess Sadiq. How do you Sadiq Bagwan?
I think it's Siddiqui Bhagwan. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, well, I mean no disrespect, Siddiqui, but congratulations. You won the 2 Jensen amps. If you want some subs for it, hit us up. Hey, that amp did like 600 RMS, Jake. And it did 600 certified. Cool. And then we did the dynamic run at 14, and it did over 1,000. So not really bad. What if he was going to match up something? What like a couple 8s, maybe a 12? Like what do we have that would work low power like that?
Out of the Sundown line, for that he could run a pair of LCSs or
there you go, yeah,
a pair of V8s or something.
Right, so we're going to send you the amps, but if you don't have subs, hit up bigjeffaudio.com, obviously, and then you can go brands Sundown and bring that up. And then if you want to filter by size or price, for sure. Okay, then we had the bi-weekly audio pipe, which everyone, keep in mind, 9 o'clock tonight after this, the next video goes out. I'll just let you know what we're giving away. We're giving away some audio pipe. Was it BDXs or BDC8s?
Are you talking about the next one?
Yeah,
the BDX8s.
Okay, BDX8s. That'll come tonight, so you got to watch that video. But this giveaway was for this.
Podcast.
I got to pause this because I'm not going to say the winner. This was actually for the 212s and the audio pipe amp.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. Next
right,
giveaway
I
is
paused
the
it because I'm like, oh, we forgot to say. Right. Okay, so this winner that you're about to see won 2 audio pipe 12s and a 3,000 watt amp.
Cool.
Yeah, honestly, Jacob, I know it's another brand, but the audio pipe man been around for a long time, man. They just kind of make some different stuff. I really enjoy it. But let's go back to the winner. Play it full. We're going to see who won. Cole Perkins, way easier to say. Congratulations. You won that for sure. Okay. And then we got you all, which was a surprise tonight from Jacob. Go ahead, bring up the picture of the subs, guys. Okay, they're refurbished, but, I mean, they're done at Sundown, so they're boxed up. Basically, well, explain it real quick. We only got a couple minutes, Jacob.
Yeah.
Refurbished from Sundown. It's not like we recon it. It's
Yep.
It's basically
So
brand new, man. It might have
our build team just takes the existing motor and puts all new soft parts in it. It's good as new, other
right. It's
than
brand new.
maybe minor cosmetic scratches or
Correct.
something on the motor.
So these are from you all. You all shipped them here. They're sealed up, and we're giving that away. You all had a comment, Sundown for the win. So that was a surprise tonight for chiming in. And well, okay, let's Jacob, when it comes up, you're going to announce the winner. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's do this.
Josh Stubel.
Stubel, Josh, you just won yourself some Sundown Audio subwoofers. You all can hit us up at 737 Big Jeff, which is 737-244-5333. You can call us, text us, WhatsApp us. I mean, it's all, I mean, you know what's funny, Jacob? When you hire somebody and they knew and they don't show up and they're like, oh, I didn't know the number to call. Right? It's like, come on, man. Right? Okay. So, Josh, you won those subs. We're going to ship them out to you, right? So you got to hit up the team. Yep, Brittany's on there, the CSR manager, and we'll get those out to you.
Do we have time for one more thing to answer?
Yeah, you go ahead, man. Go ahead.
There was a guy, his screen name was If I May. He had a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
First question was, is a 170 amp alternator good enough for Assault 2K? Yes. He had made another comment asking, he's like, oh, those are all SPL subs. What about daily SQL? I think that he needs to look at something like the M series, for example. I think the M series, and I'm going to go out on a limb here because I have a lot of respect for JL Audio, but I think the M series would give a JLW7 a run for its money. Yeah. And
for a lot less money.
Yeah. It has as much or more linear excursion. It has inductive treatment. And it has just as linear of a suspension, all that. And there's some other things I'm working on. Going back to the Silver Devo technology, I actually invented it somewhat by accident when I was working on a high stroke underhung sound quality subwoofer. So that's something that I want to do as well. I've been calling that the JF SQ reference driver for a long time, and I've had various prototypes over the years. Sometime over the next couple of years, I'm actually going to get that thing out. So that will be a truly high stroke, completely flat BL underhung driver with a 5-inch coil Neo motor, all that good stuff.
You know what we need to do next time we have you on? I think we need to do a little some talking about the word SQ.
Yes, indeed.
Right, because everybody just thinks Sundown SPL, right? But it's not just SPL. So next podcast, I think we're gonna get into the SQ talk. I think because I think there's more people out there that not even just straight sound quality, but they're not out there trying to compete. They want that boom, but they also. I love that home audio sound of bass. You know what I mean? That omni, just all around you type feel. I really enjoy that. So, all right, listen, everyone. Awesome night. Awesome questions. My man Jacob in the house. We'll have him on again in a few months, and we're going to talk about SQ next time. By then, the M series should be out, right?
Yep.
The Zv7 should be out. When are we talking approximate ETA?
Probably 60 days. And then also, speaking of sound quality, the SA3M, SA1T are out. The SA6.5 mid and SA8 mid should be out by then as well.
You know what? Let's break that down next podcast. Let's get in because we really didn't even touch into the mids and highs. We didn't even get there. So let's kind of on the next podcast. Let's talk about some SQ on the subwoofer side, but let's get in and we can get some videos up and stuff talking about the loudspeakers. Right?
Excellent. Let's do it.
I think definitely. All right, listen, everyone. Thank you so much. Big shout out to Ben Jammin here, Taylor the Hair, making this happen on our own time. Thank you for Jacob for making time for us. And then on next time we have him on, we're going to be doing talk about SQ. Next week, when is the date, Taylor? Because we're going to have the oldest school OG in this industry on with the turbine.
That is the 31st, a Monday.
Okay, 31st, Monday, 7:30. Here will be ghetto as you ever met in your life. American Bob will be on.
Bob's a cool guy.
Yeah, he don't do podcasts and all that. I had to pull his turban and say, hey, you're coming on. All right. So make sure you hit us back up. 9:00, Ben, is when the next giveaway starts tonight. Okay. Be on YouTube, Facebook, all that. Watch the video. You'll have another chance to win. You can hate me, but you love my giveaways, right? Because that's all we do. I can say we're the company that gives away the most product on a consistent basis. So listen, I'm Big Jeff from BigJeffAudio.com. Stay tuned. The Big Jeff chains are on the way back, and I showed pictures. Pallets of them. We're going to be, man, I'm just going to see Big Jeff chain. Next time, Jacob, I want you to wear like Mr. T. I'm going to send you like 6 of them. And
All right, let's do it.
Just stack them up, my buddy. All right, listen, everybody, thank you so much. Another episode in history. My man, Jacob Fuller from Sundown. We're going to see him again in a couple months, and we're going to be talking about loudspeakers, SQ for sure. Thank you to all you winners. Contact us. We'll take care of you. And we'll see you on the next one, man, the 31st. All right, Ben, take us out, man.
Another show in the bag, yeah, that's a wrap. Big Sound is the best, and it ain't no cap. Hit the website if you need that merch. It's Big Jeff Audio and hit the search. I know you had fun, yeah, you gotta admit it. That boy Big Jeff took his thing and he did it. Always a win, yeah, never a L. Did you smash the like, subscribe, and hit the bell? Share it on your socials, put it on blast. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Big Sound in the house, like no other. Deviant and Big Jeff, the Basshead Brothers.